I'm Joshua Cannon.
I'm Brian McFeely.
We're senior nursing students, and our idea is the portable IV fluid warmer. So I want you to imagine sometime this winter commuting to work on a cold winter day and it's freezing, and you get into your car, you blast the heat, you blast the seat warmers, but the entire ride you just can't shake that chill. And even when you get into work and it's nice and warm in there, you still can't shake that chill for the rest of the day. This is the feeling that patients receiving room temperature IV fluids are telling us that they're experiencing. And this is because you're taking 68-degree fluid and pumping it into a body that's 98.6 degrees. Into a body that's already weak and sick coming into a hospital. That's a lot of work that body has to do. And as a result, they become cold and uncomfortable in their hospital stay. Nurses aren't using warm fluids that often because 1, they aren't convenient, and 2, they aren't enforced or recommended in any sort of way. People that are affected by this problem are any patients receiving IV fluids. They're most common in critical care and emergency care.
Hospitals are businesses first and foremost, and because of a recent change in healthcare, some of the money that is held from a patient's insurance, it's held onto by the government and then dispersed back to the hospital afterwards based on a patient satisfaction survey.
So this money is frozen by the government by insurance payments, and that money is either taken from the hospital and kept for poor satisfaction scores from these surveys, given back to the hospital for satisfactory scores in these satisfaction surveys, or given back with a bonus for scores that go above and beyond expectations from the government.
So you can see from this from the study that patients who receive body temperature IV fluids express much less discomfort than patients who receive room temperature IV fluids. And a patient who is experiencing less discomfort in the hospital is also going to have a greater satisfaction in the hospital.
So according to the Geisker healthcare system, 50 to 90% of their patients in this hospital system in Pennsylvania are receiving some sort of IV fluids. If you take the yearly census just from emergency and critical care admissions, this means that somewhere from 34 to 60,000 patients every year are receiving some sort of IV fluids. When nurses were approached on the subject from our clinicals about IV fluids, they told us that 1, they were either surprised in the research that proved that warmed IV fluids were more beneficial for patient comfort, or 2, there's just not enough warm fluids on their floors to provide it to all the patients that could benefit from this. This is a current IV fluid warmer that's used in many hospitals. The top portion is the only portion used for storing the IV fluids, and it only holds somewhere from 12 to 15 bags, which is just not enough to provide for an entire floor in most hospitals.
This is an example of some of the carts that are currently used in the hospitals. You can see that they're portable, mobile. They hold plenty of a large quantity of space for a large volume of fluid to be held, as well as accessories for the fluids. The unfortunate thing about them is that they are holding these fluids at room temperature.
So our solution to this problem is the portable IV fluid warmer. What this would do is it would replace the functionality of these carts, providing a large volume of storage for the IV fluids, room for accessory IV items like pump tubing, as well as being portable and being able to move around the hospital, with the added bonus that the portion that is storing the IV fluids would be warmed for the patients.
So our plans for the future, we would like to be on the end of this product that we'd be continuing to use our nursing experience to further
develop the product.
Thank you.
And as the warmed IV fluids become more of a norm in hospital care, the demand for fluid warmers will increase as well. As you can see, here's our tentative budget for any future funding. All of our funding, as we're in the idea phase of this product, would be going towards a prototype, because we need a working prototype to 1, further develop the product and see how the functionality works, and 2, being able to make our product marketable and sell it to potential buyers. Are there any questions?
Is it like a microwave on wheels? Like, what do you think?
So
that looks like a microwave.
Yeah, I mean, is it this?
It is,
small
essentially.
Version of that.
Correct. So all the technology to warm fluids and all the research to warm fluids already exists. It just doesn't exist in the system that is convenient for a nurse to be able to grab a bag of fluids.
Yeah.
In all the hospitals I've been in, every single warm fluid is either 1, too small, or 2, just in an inconvenient place. The hospital I'm working at right now, you have to go by 2 patients in the back of a room to grab fluid from a warmer that holds maybe 10 bags, when on a daily basis they're using hundreds of bags.
This really is a big deal.
To
How many
answer your
bags
question.
would your solution hold?
I would potentially want my solution to hold anywhere between 30 to 40 bags, and hospitals would be replacing these carts with the fluid warmers, so maybe they'd have one, maybe they'd have two around the hospital. Right now you can see in many hospital floors, they'll have 3 or 4 of these lying around, so a nurse, when they're going to give fluids to their patients, can grab a bag, grab the accessories, and walk into the room. They just don't have time to be walking all the way across the floor to the one fluid warmer to grab bags and bring them back to their patient.
To answer an earlier question, if you want to go back to the fluid warmer. This is more like, it's like an incubator, like if you imagine what they hatch chicks in, it keeps the air in there warm and warms the fluid in that way, more so than, you know, pressing 30 seconds on a microwave to heat it up. It stays warm.
So are they stationary that you plug them in, or are they mobile and they're battery powered?
The goal would be to have a very small battery in them, so they would be plugged in, but they'd be able to be unplugged, moved to a stock room potentially, to be able to stock them, fill them with bags, and move them back to their convenient location. That's what these cannot do. They do not move very well, they're not portable, they're too tall, they're too big, and these are very portable, they move into the rooms well, but they're not warming the fluids like they should be.
So do you know how long it would take to like heat a bag up? Have you done any like engineering behind that and what the turnaround would be type of thing?
We haven't personally, but these fluid warmers consistently stay at 104 degrees, which is what the Joint Commission recommends that fluids are being kept at, and they are just continuously replenished all day long. No fluid would ever stay in, if you had 10 bags in a non-warmed cart, they wouldn't stay there for more than half of a nurse's shift, which is 4 hours.
I was just thinking about workflow and how many extra carts you would need to hold all that water, fluid and keep it warm. And one of the things that's always an issue in the hospital is space. You guys know because you worked in one.
Mm-hmm.
There's never enough of space and there's never enough of plugs to plug everything in, or there's no compliance with that.
And our goal is that our fluid warmers would replace these ones, which are at room temperature, and so it would take up ideally the similar amount of space.
Typically, what I'm used to seeing around fluid warmers, right, you see them, as I'm sure you've observed in your clinicals, in the critical care areas. They're in the PACU, they're in the ICU, they're in the emergency department because there's more of a clinical driver behind it. And I get what you're saying about patient satisfaction being very important and value-based purchasing and dollars are being held against that at a material level. But I think, you know, a warm blanket, you know how much you leverage out of a warm blanket. You bring a warm blanket to your patient, you're the hero for the day. Versus patients that are on a med-surg floor that are getting, you know, what's the average rate? They're getting fluid from, you know, 75 to 150 cc's an hour. So even though you're showing a big bag of fluid and, you know, everyone can imagine, ooh, that would make you really cold. It's really titrating in to, at a very slow rate, being diluted with the rest of your circulating warm blood. So I just don't know if there's is there any data that really shows, I totally get it in critical care where you're pushing large volumes or post-operatively where patients are hypothermic, but I'm not sure there's a dramatic use case beyond the patient sat thing, and if that's what you're going after, then I think you really want to shape that message. And the other thing that any hospital administrator is going to look at those fluid warmers, and it's going to be, you said the word Joint Commission, it's a regulatory nightmare. So if you can embed in your technology ways that the fluid warmer is going to, you know, self-monitor or perhaps electronically transmit to a central station what the temperature of the unit is, because otherwise that's like you were asking me to put 20 of these in my hospital and I'm going to put 20 more logs out there that I have to rely on the nurses to check every shift. And if they don't, then it's a regulatory thing. So I think some sort of assurances like that it's going to self-monitor itself and it'll alarm if it goes out of range. Things like that are helpful to know because it decreases. And you've seen the logs, the code cart logs and all those logs.
A lot of hospitals are moving towards using the RFID sensors to continuously log them. So we didn't want to really include anything in this because we didn't want to make it incompatible technology that would go towards it.
But I think if you're going to really bring something to market that you're going to be able to sell broadly to hospitals, that's not a real hard sell in terms of the clinical data that supports it, but maybe a real patient satisfier, you're going to want to make sure that you're not scaring people off that they're going to have to be chasing logs all over the place. So just one thought. Yeah.
Or even like an imaging center, when they have patients that are going into sort of an MRI or something, and you're receiving the fluids. So oftentimes, when I worked with a center like that, the biggest complaint was that the patients were shivering and they needed blankets because they're in there getting scanned and they have these, so this must work on any kind of bag, right?
Yes, most
Any
often we're
injectable?
infusing
Yeah.
normal saline, but it can be compatible for any
But
sort
that's
of
like
bed.
contrast, you're not gonna be able to heat up like
Yeah.
pre-imaging contrast,
That's
you
so
can't
cool.
heat that up, yeah,
Yeah.
so, but I really like the, the idea and the thought process behind it, I just think
And-
the deployment is something
Yeah,
that we need.
and
I love
hospitals
the
could,
logistics.
they don't have to replace every single one of their carts. If they just want to have a slightly more abundance of warm fluids available for their nurses, they can buy one and still keep a lot of room temperature IV fluids on the floor, and they don't have to completely replace all of their carts. So they can see as they need them.
Yeah,
Feels if if they see the ED perhaps, or the critical care unit somewhere that's, they're seeing more, large volume boluses being used, and that's kind of a complaint patients are chronically having. Maybe they'll buy them for those units specifically. They can kind of, buy them as they
really
see fit.
amplify the why, am I reducing infections, am I improving, outcomes, reducing length of stay, anything like that, that really makes me want to spend money to buy this product beyond kind of a soft patient experience thing, they want to jazz that up a little.
Okay.
Not that patient experience is soft, but
Yeah. Well, yeah, we can say more things that are applicable to the hospital.
What
Like,
I'm saying.
Yes, COO, we got you.
She's thinking about the job,
Yeah, well,
so she brings this in.
thank you.
Right, I'm thinking about the joint
Yeah,
commission.
no joke.
well, like reducing call bell times and
Yes,
reducing resources.
Exactly,
Commission on size, yeah.
exactly. All the ways that you can build that up.
Using less blankets.
To joint commission.
Right, well,
We
that's
know
real.
that no number of warm blankets cures that,
That-
those patients being shivering and
Yeah.
freezing.
Yeah, but you might get fewer calls to patients asking for blankets, which takes in
Absolutely.
just
Right.
5 minutes.
Mhm.
That could-
So that time just adds up throughout
Slip
a
it
12-hour
as
shift.
well.
The marketing
We just bought
campaign
this
that
stuff.
is,
Great.
All right, thank you guys very much. We
Thank you so much.
appreciate your time.